Imagine waking up to the kind of news that instantly shifts an entire global industry, the type of story that causes boardrooms to fall silent, CEOs to grab emergency phones, and automakers to realize they may have just been overtaken by a man they spent years dismissing. Because today, Maxwell Chikumbutso's self-charging electric car has officially been certified. Yes, certified. Tested. Approved. Validated. And the auto industry? Shaken to the core. This is the moment they hoped would never come. For years, Maxwell's claims of a vehicle that charges itself while driving were mocked, ignored, even labeled impossible. But now, with a government-backed certification document in hand, that impossible technology is about to hit the world like a shockwave. And what's even more unbelievable, the certification wasn't just a technical approval. It confirmed exactly what automakers feared the most. Maxwell's car truly runs without external charging. No wall outlet. No charging station. No fuel. No solar panels. A closed-loop energy system, proven. Engineers reviewing the data reportedly described it with one sentence. If this scales, everything changes. But how did this car finally get certified after years of silence? Who stepped in? And what pushed this breakthrough from underground skepticism to global recognition? The story begins months before the public announcement, in a quiet industrial testing facility where a team of engineers, chosen from several countries, were told only one thing. You are about to test a system that may redefine transportation. Document everything. No assumptions. What they encountered wasn't a fancy prototype or a futuristic spaceship-like EV. It looked like an ordinary compact car, except its engine bay held a power unit none of them had ever seen before. Maxwell called it the MSED propulsion module. When the engineers inspected it, they noticed something unusual. No traditional battery pack. No high-voltage charging port. Just a sealed unit with tightly coupled coils, a magnetic driver assembly, and something Maxwell simply described as the conversion chamber. When the test began, the observers expected the car to move, but only for a short while. They assumed a hidden battery would reveal itself once the vehicle slowed or died. Except it didn't. The car kept driving. Not for 20 minutes. Not for 2 hours. But continuously, without any drop in system voltage, without overheating, and without consuming fuel. The lead engineer reportedly stopped the test and said, "We need to check again. This can't be right." They restarted. Same result. Then they simulated load. Uphill inclines, acceleration bursts, overnight idling, extended cruising. Still no energy loss. That data alone was enough to spark panic and excitement across the auto world. Because if Maxwell's technology is real, charging stations become obsolete. Range anxiety dies instantly. Battery degradation is no longer an issue. And the entire EV business model, billions of dollars worth, collapses overnight. The certification body had no choice. The results were undeniable. The paperwork was finalized. And just like that, Maxwell Chikumbutso's self-charging EV became the world's first officially recognized infinite-range car. As news quietly leaked, automakers began trying to figure out how they missed it and, more importantly, what they could do to stop it. A few companies even attempted to buy the technology immediately. Others tried to challenge the certification, claiming the tests weren't industry standard. But the real twist came when a high-ranking official, who attended the tests personally, made an unexpected statement behind closed doors. "You don't understand what's coming. This isn't just an EV breakthrough, this is an energy revolution." And that's when the biggest revelations so far surfaced, something the industry absolutely wasn't prepared for. Because during the final certification phase, Maxwell demonstrated a second feature of his power unit, one that changes the narrative completely. A capability that doesn't just challenge automakers, it threatens the global energy hierarchy itself. And that secret was not meant to. They issued Maxwell not just a standard vehicle certification, but a supplementary clearance for distributed energy applications, a legal acknowledgement that his power module qualifies as a legitimate electrical generation device. In other words, Maxwell now holds an official certification that allows his technology to be used in cars, homes, factories, microgrids, and mobile power stations. It was at this moment the automakers panicked. Internal emails leaked from several major EV companies revealed phrases like catastrophic implications, immediate strategic threat, potential industry collapse, and acquire at any cost. Within days, investors began flooding Maxwell with offers, some friendly, some aggressive, and some masked behind partnership proposals that were anything but. Yet Maxwell declined all of them. He had already chosen a path, one no one expected, and one that would send shockwaves through the global market. Because instead of selling the technology to the highest bidder, Maxwell partnered with a rapidly growing African engineering consortium, a move that stunned the West and triggered frantic calls from major capitals. And that consortium had a plan so bold that even the certification team couldn't believe it. A plan that would place Africa at the center of the world's next energy revolution and leave the old power players scrambling. The first phase of that plan? A production line unlike anything traditional automakers had envisioned. The second phase? Even more disruptive. And the third? The real game changer. The part they prayed would never happen. I'm going to take you right into that plan, piece by piece, because what Maxwell and his new partners are building goes far beyond cars. The consortium's plan was divided into 3 phases, but the first phase alone was enough to make the industry nervous. Instead of building a traditional automotive factory, huge structures, billion-dollar facilities, armies of robots, the new production line would be modular, mobile, and decentralized. Workers wouldn't have to wait for a megafactory to be built. Instead, assembly pods, portable manufacturing units, could be deployed across different African regions. Each pod could build components of Maxwell's energy system, and each could be expanded or relocated, depending on demand. This meant one thing. No corporation, no government, no foreign investor could bottleneck production. And once the auto giants realized this, internal reports started circulating with one conclusion repeated over and over. We cannot stop this. But the second phase was even more disruptive. While most automakers still struggled to secure rare minerals for batteries, Maxwell's design didn't depend on those supply chains at all. No cobalt, no lithium, no nickel. Nothing that tied production to global mining monopolies or politically controlled resources. Instead, the core components of the MSCD unit could be manufactured using locally available materials that African industries already produce or could scale rapidly. For the first technology almost as deeply as he did. A former partner, a rival, a genius in their own right, and now, the hunter of the core. Maxwell stared at the message for a long moment, letting the weight of it settle. Not fear, not shock, just a quiet acceptance, the kind only a man who has lived through a lifetime of being underestimated could understand. He finally spoke, then let them come. His team watched him, silent, waiting. Maxwell stepped forward, placed his hand on the biometric console, and initiated a command none of them expected. A global broadcast authorization. One that could not be reversed. One that would override every suppression order, every legal blockade, every private threat. In 15 seconds, the world would see everything. The schematics, the demonstration footage, the independent test results, the certification documents, the science, the proof. Every hidden breakthrough they tried to bury. The self-charging car. The RF to electric conversion engine. The zero-emission drive cycle. The end of fuel dependency. A revolution unleashed. Alarms blared through the building as external teams attempted to break into the network. Too late. The countdown hit 0. And every device on Earth connected to the open protocol, phones, tablets, news stations, public screens, satellite relays, lit up with Maxwell's work. Billions watched in real time. Silence fell over boardrooms. Energy executives froze mid-sentence. Governments paused emergency meetings. Scientists replayed the footage again and again, unable to deny what they saw. It was no longer a rumor. No longer a conspiracy. No longer an underground invention whispered about in tech forums. It was real. Certified. Validated.
Public.
A new era. Set free. Maxwell exhaled, calm for the first time in years. Not because the threats were gone. Not because the rivals had disappeared. But because the technology no longer belonged to him. It belonged to humanity. Outside, thousands gathered, cheering, filming, disbelief turning into hope as the first mass-produced self-charging vehicles rolled quietly onto the streets, their engines humming with the promise of a different future. The auto industry scrambled. Oil markets shook. Investors panicked. Innovators celebrated. The world had just pivoted. Maxwell walked out of the building as the sun rose, casting long shadows across the ground. He didn't turn back. He didn't need to. His mission was complete. A journalist rushed toward him. "Maxwell, what happens now?" He smiled the faintest smile. "Now," he said. "Now, the world decides what to do with the future." He kept walking. No entourage. No applause. Just a man who did what he came to do. And behind him, the world began to change. Irreversibly. Finally.
Completely.
Technology is being scheduled. Not next year. Not next quarter.
Soon.
Very soon. But here's the twist. Maxwell isn't the only one preparing for that day. Several powerful groups, ones you never see on camera, ones that operate above governments, are now scrambling to understand how to influence, infiltrate, or slow down the rollout. And as of now, they're failing. But they're not done. Something is coming. An attempt to challenge Maxwell's momentum. A move designed to disrupt the rollout before it becomes unstoppable. And the first signs of that move have already appeared, quietly, in a place no one expected. The first signs didn't appear in boardrooms or news headlines. They appeared in a quiet, unremarkable facility on the outskirts of a small European city, a place that, to outsiders, looked like a standard research lab. But to those who monitored global technology flows, it was known as a listening post. A place where breakthroughs were tracked, copied, or neutralized before they threatened established systems. Inside that facility, a red alert flashed across a secure terminal. Not because Maxwell had released something new, but because someone had intercepted fragments of the Open Energy Protocol. Encrypted fragments. Incomplete, but enough to cause concern. A senior analyst stared at the data, whispering to her colleague, "This architecture, if they finish this, the global energy structure collapses." Another voice responded, cold and certain, "That's why we won't let them finish." Within hours, a classified directive was issued. Networks were activated. Influence channels mobilized. Media partners quietly instructed to prepare narratives questioning the safety, validity, and stability of independent energy generators. It was subtle at first. A few suspicious articles. A vaguely skeptical news segment. A think tank releasing a report claiming self-powered systems could destabilize economies. Nothing direct. Nothing obvious. Just enough to make the public hesitate. To plant seeds of doubt. To slow momentum. But their real target wasn't the public. It was Maxwell's consortium. They needed to fracture it from the inside. So they started contacting members one by one. Private messages. Secret offers. Threats disguised as opportunities. Some were told they could gain exclusive rights to the technology if they left the consortium. Others were warned that supporting Maxwell could invite regulatory conflicts. A few were even offered enormous sums of money, enough to buy entire factories, on the condition that they delay the rollout. But the consortium didn't break.
Not yet.
Instead, something unexpected happened. Maxwell gathered the entire leadership team into a single secure location, a meeting that insiders now call the Unshakable Day.